Fantastic. Let's start then. Okay. So what we're going to be looking at is I'm going to actually share the screen with you if you don't mind. I'm going to share the screen because I think this is going to be useful in terms of what we can do. I'm going to move that there. I am recording this session just so that you know. I think it's useful, so I will send it out as well. So this is really, I suppose, what we're going to be looking at today. So it's really about why it's probably important to build your personal brand. So obviously for me, it's allowed me to kind of make that move to a different country. Okay. So my other half is actually on a sabbatical at the moment. And in some senses, I suppose that was what was important. And as you can see from here to where I am, but obviously what you might want could be completely different. It could be that you want to start getting companies chasing you. It could be that you actually want to get a better salary. It might be that you want to find yourself headhunted for that particular role. So we're going to be looking into why that's going to be important. I'm actually going to go through, I suppose, in terms of who I am, what I can do. As I said, we're going to go through kind of the 3 key things that you need to be doing in order to start building your personal brand. And obviously, if you want to kind of fast track yourself, I'm able to help you with that. But I also kind of wanted to say is I only do 2 things. Okay, so a career coach that does 2 things, and these are the 2 things that I'm going to say to you is I work globally, and the reason why I'm able to work globally is because I literally focus on only 2 elements. One is I help people to get hired. The second thing is I help people to build their personal brand. So basically what that means is in some senses, what I'm trying to say is that if you're able to build your personal brand, you're able to attract the companies that you want to be working for. You're able to attract a better salary as well. Okay. So we're going to be going through those 3 steps. And obviously one of the things that I'm doing this month is the Be the One interview package. So if you are in that process of where you think, okay, I need to be upping my skills, do take a look at that. I'm going to talk about more about that later at the end of this session. But let's actually start with, well, who I am and why that I think I'm kind of able to talk about this. So I am a global career coach. And I think I kind of have always, been building my personal brand in some senses, but without actually recognizing that I've been doing this. So, originally I was based in London. So I've made this change from London to Spain. So this is where I am at the moment. And the reason in some senses why I was able to make that move from Liverpool to London to Spain is simply because I recognize that when you build your personal brand, you're able to attract other companies to you. Because when you think about it, okay, most people are good within the 4 walls of the company that they work. And what I am trying to do is help you to articulate what you do and why that needs to actually transcend those 4 walls. So that's that's the key thing. You actually need to be thinking in terms of, okay, if I want to be able to get myself hired, if I want to be able to, potentially get companies to be headhunted, to get a better salary, then you need to be good outside of the 4 walls that you're currently are in. And that's the trick. That's ultimately the trick, because if you can do that, that's when your reputation will help you to get to whatever you want to achieve in some senses. It will help you if you decide that you want to move to a different country. It will help you if you want to move to a different state, because it doesn't actually matter. So the first thing that you've got to understand is, what is the driving force? Why do you want to do this? Because I'd like to say to you that building your brand, is a quick fix, that you can it's kind of like the cabbage soup diet. I'm afraid it's not going to be like that in some senses, where you can spend a week on this and lose 7 pounds. What I'm saying to you is if you want to build your personal brand, it is going to take time. And I think, being realistic and recognizing that there isn't a quick fix to this, then you're going to be kind of able to achieve this better than most people. Saying that at the same time, though, I've got to be honest with you that I think that you can get great results within 30 days at the same time, as long as you know what you're doing. Yeah. So obviously I've learned, in some senses, how to do this via trial and error. And what I'm trying to teach people is actually, in some senses, there's a better way to do this. If you know what to do, it does get you there faster. So what are the, let's actually now focus. What are those 3 key things that you need to be thinking about in order to start building your brand? And this is where I'm going to actually share the screen with you, because I think this is really important. So you need to be known. And you probably think, okay, a genius, I am not. But the thing is most people are not known within their industry. So your first key thing that you need to be doing is getting known within your industry. And as I kept on saying at the very start, you need to go outside of the 4 walls that you currently work. Yeah. Or have worked if you're not currently working now. So the way to check, in some senses, when you can do this yourself, actually, a good way to check it in terms of how visible that you are could be, one parameter could be, or a KPI that you could be using could be, your profile on LinkedIn. So I am hoping that I'm sharing the screen with you. Can somebody confirm that you can see my screen? Okay, can somebody, I'm just checking tech, can you confirm that you can see the screen, which says live training at the moment on LinkedIn? Can you tell me? Yep, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. This is what you need to be looking at. You need to go to your profile and look at who's viewed your profile. So if I look at my profile, we're going to be looking at my KPIs. Okay, so at the moment, you can see that in 90 days that I've been able to kind of attract around 2,585 people who are looking, at my profile over those 90 days. And it isn't just, let's make this really clear, it isn't just getting anybody to look at that profile. I've made it so that the right people are looking at my profile. So what I'm saying to you is most people see LinkedIn in some senses. There's your LinkedIn profile. Most people look at LinkedIn as literally, a pretty profile online. Yeah, but actually it's more than this. It is actually a database. And in some senses, what I'm saying to you is if you're able to leverage that database, which is in some ways what I'm doing, then you're able to actually get yourself known quicker and to the people that matter to you. So what I'm able to do is manipulate this in some way, okay, where I'm getting the people who matter to me. So the people who matter to me are only 2 people, people who are interested in building their professional brand, or the other person that is looking to get hired. And I'll be honest with you, they tend to be at a high level as well, okay? So they're the people that I am looking for. And what I'm able to help people to do is basically do the same for you, is to identify your gatekeepers. So your gatekeepers could be, could be recruiters. It's anybody that can actually help you to get hired. It could be that we completely miss out HR, for example, and we actually, be able to pitch to the people that can actually give us the job. So, what I'm trying to say to you is if you look at this, and it's gone down, and I'm going to explain, and you can see it's starting to go up again. I've still got quite decent number of profile views, even though in that time, I've actually relocated to a new country. So I'll be honest with you, in that time, I've gone from London back to Liverpool, where I was originally from, then to Germany, because my other half is German, for approximately a week. And then we've came to Spain, and we've tried to have a little bit of a holiday before before I've actually got back, to really kind of trying to do this properly again. So what I'm trying to say to you is that you need to be looking at who is looking at your profile, and are they the people who need to see you? Are they the people that can actually offer you what you want, whether that's that job, in the state that you were working, or in a different state, or in a different country. So in some senses, I've been able to manipulate this, where it doesn't really matter what country you're from, okay, as long as in some senses, I'm hoping, that you're able to see potentially the benefit, in terms of what I can offer. And that's again, okay, so I'm on a slight rant here. Okay, I've got going now, but I think this is why I really get frustrated with people's LinkedIn profiles, because a lot of the time they're very dry. Yeah, it's kind of, so you need to be kind of making something, not dry, not kind of what everybody else is doing. And trust me, most people follow a very generic formula, and when they create their LinkedIn profile, which is, I call it the shopping list. You tell me a list of your specialities, what you can do, and you will say, I am a hard-working, dedicated, I don't know, human resource professional who was able to, lead, teams. What does that actually mean? Okay, what does that actually mean? So the way that I work in some senses is I help you to work out what is your USP, your unique selling point, why does that matter? And to help you to understand that a company, let's be really clear here, a company will only hire you for one reason only. And that reason is that they have a problem and they believe that you can solve that problem. Okay, so that's how I help you to understand, okay, that's really the message that we need to be kind of focusing on. We need to work out what is your USP, your unique selling point, why that matters. And that's the bit that should be there. So it's really important that you create great foundations before we actually then start looking at, well, how do we start getting those profile views? So I'm hoping, the first thing that I've said to you is that you've got to get known. So a great parameter, let's just summarize what I've said, a great way to evaluate how known you are is really kind of looking at who is viewing my profile, how many people am I getting to see me, and are they the right people? So I know, for example, that there are groups which say, view me and I will view your LinkedIn profile, which I just find slightly kind of ridiculous in some senses, because, I want to be making sure the people who see my profile need my service. So in some senses, I'm saying to you that your shop window needs to be the best it can be. Yeah, that is your shop window in some senses. This is your shop window. We need to be making sure this is the best that it can be. Most people, they have what I call a C average profile. It doesn't make me go, wow, I need to speak to you. It doesn't make me think, wow, you're an interesting guy or a girl. The only time that I think that is when I've had a conversation with you and I go, wow, you've done a lot. Okay, I'll be honest. But normally, I don't get that from your CVs or your resumes or your LinkedIn profile. So I'm just being truthful. So please don't shoot the messenger. So what I'm trying to say to you is that these need to be the absolute best they can be. And then you kind of look at that next stage in terms of, okay, let's start getting known within the people that matter. Okay, so I think I've kind of covered step one, is the ability to get known. The ability to see how you're doing is by, one parameter that you could be looking at is who's actually viewed your profile. And, if it's not, a considerable amount of people, you've got to understand this is a numbers game. Yeah. So ask any sales professional, they will say to you, you know, it's two things: how many people that you're contacting and how many people that you're following up with. Okay, so two things there. Okay, the next factor that you've got to think about is the like factor. Okay, so the reason people don't want to do personal branding is that they kind of perceive this in some senses as bragging, okay, or being slightly arrogant maybe, or they're trying to sell themselves. And I suppose that you've got to get over that, because you need to reframe this, because in some senses what I'm trying to do, if I'm honest, is I'm trying to share information with you to say, actually, you know, so you will say, okay, I do a number of articles, and okay, you know, they are kind of promoting my business, but actually so are you, you're a business as well. So let's make notice, there's no difference here. I am a business, but actually so are you. You need to see yourself as a business as well, because if you don't, you're making a huge mistake. Because if you want to continue to get a great salary, if you want to continue to get hunted by companies, you need to start treating yourself in a really professional way. So all I'm really doing is sharing my knowledge with people. And just like I would say to you, if you were going for an interview, for example, I would say to you, okay, you want to be making sure that you tell them why you're good, but you don't want to be telling them how to do things. Yeah, you don't want to be giving everything away, because they still need to employ you. Yeah, so you need to reframe how you see this in some sense, because I see this as a big reason why people, you know, in some senses don't want to promote themselves. So, you know, one way that you can definitely promote yourself is through kind of, you know, published posts. And that's one thing that I do. I do a lot of stuff. That's one way that I do. So I get myself known with, you know, people that might want to know, want to know more about me, I should say. Okay, so you need to work out what you're comfortable with, and you need to be kind of thinking about, okay, how am I able to share my experience? So, you know, you need to be looking at it from this point of view, not that you're selling yourself in a way, but I will say to you, when I speak to you, it literally is, I'm kind of in some ways in awe, because you've done so much. And the frustrating thing for me is that the only people that know this is maybe your mum and dad. Okay, maybe your boss in work, but that's it. And what's wrong with sharing your experience? What's wrong if you're a construction project manager to say, you know, when I did this project, I learned X, Y, and Z? What's wrong with you sharing your opinion? Obviously, I'm going to say to you, though, there is confidentiality in some cases, so you need to be aware of that. You know, you don't want to be getting yourself into trouble with anything. So if you need to get kind of clearance to do that, make sure that you do. But there's always a way to kind of skin a cat in some senses. So what I'm trying to say to you is that, you know, I've had those issues in the past where I've wanted to share information and it wasn't appropriate. So I never named them. I never mentioned the name of the company. You know, I kind of made it very vague. You know, it was a company that I worked with. Or if a client doesn't want me to mention the name of the client, I'll say, well, working with a client, this is what we uncovered. So, you know, work out how can you go about doing this, and how can you share your information. But the trick is that you can't give everything away, because obviously if you give everything away, they're not going to need to employ you. And that is definitely, you know, that's what you're looking to do. Okay, let's go to the next stage. And this is the biggest reason why people fail to be able to build their personal brand. This is the big one, okay? It's not that they can't, it's to do with that trust factor, okay? So what I'm saying to you, the only way that you start building trust up is that you're consistent. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that you need to be consistently showing up and providing, you know, your opinion, your thoughts, you know, whatever is, you know, what it is that you're good at, you need to be sharing that in some way. And the reason why people fail to build that trust up is, in some senses, I think they see themselves as, wow, I actually posted something today. Wow, that took a lot of effort. Wow, God, that was hard. I don't think I can do this, long term. And, because it is hard. I'm not going to lie to you. You're actually going through a learning curve. So just like today, I'm not going to lie to you. I've used Zoom before, but I've normally used Zoom on a one-to-one basis, not using it in this capacity. So it has been, a big learning curve today. Okay, in checking the software package out, going over it in terms of, does it work? What buttons do I need to switch off? Da, da, da. And in some senses, you need to recognize that's exactly what you're going to be going through before you're able to get this process running smoothly. And the reason why people are not consistent is because they're possibly not realistic. Okay, so if you like the idea of posting, stuff out there, you need to be consistent with this. So if you said, okay, I'm going to do this, then you need to make a commitment that you're going to be doing this, say, once every, 2 weeks. If you're currently in a job, okay, and you're not, you're looking to build your brand. If you are looking maybe for a job, you might want to be doing this, upping this, and maybe doing it each week. Yeah, you need to be getting seen. Okay, so you need to be getting consistent with whatever you're doing, with whatever medium that you're going to be using to kind of share your message. But ultimately, you need to kind of be consistent with this, because if you're not, you're seen as a one-hit wonder, and you're not going to get enough people attracted to you. So for me, it didn't just, a miracle just happened, and it's been hard. It's been incredibly hard, and that's why it can be kind of cheeky in some senses, because I have decided, I made a commitment that I would do this until I got this success or the result that I wanted to get. So it didn't matter in some senses how long this took. I was committed to the process because I was determined that I wanted to be self-employed. So if you're a freelancer out there, when you're wanting to go away from feast or famine, you definitely need to speak to me. But I was determined to make this a kind of a done deal. So all I'm trying to say to you is that, yes, this is going to take time. Be realistic with this. You do need to be consistent. That is the key thing. That's ultimately how you start driving your value to people. And as you may notice, I hope you notice, is that's what I'm trying to do more of. I'm trying to give great information so that you know who I am, you trust me, you like me. But remember, you're not going to please everybody. So the way that I work may not please everybody, because I'm very blunt. I will say, actually, that's not a very good CV, and here's why. Yeah. And some people might not like that approach, but some people love that approach, because they can go, okay, I see clearly what she's talking about, and therefore, okay, I can see exactly I need to do A, B, and C to be able to move forward. Okay, so what I'm saying to you, the three, let's just kind of summarize this in some way. The three things that you need to be building is the KLT factor, which is the know, like, and trust. You firstly need to be making sure people know you exist. Okay, so you need to be exploiting LinkedIn as an ultimate database. So that's where I'm really good at helping you to kind of learn how to do that in a very quick way. So you can do this by trial and error, and I've been there and done that myself, and I've paid for a lot of courses, and I've done this. So you kind of need to make a decision. Okay, I'm happy to play around with this, but if you want to get that professional help, whether you use me or use somebody else, you do need to kind of work it out. Okay, all I would say is that you're going to get quicker results, and I think that I believe now, I would definitely say that you can get great results within 30 days if you know what you're doing. Okay, so your first thing is that you need to get known within your industry. You need to build some likable factor. People like you, by the way, when you give things away, when you're giving your opinion, when you're saying, actually, this is what I learned, and people can take from this. Yeah, so don't be shy in some senses to actually talk about what you've done and why that's relevant and why it's going to help people. And as I said, finally, You build that trust factor literally by being consistent, by doing this. It's got to be a new way of life, okay, in some senses, in the way that you brush your teeth. Okay, you need to get into the habit that this is the new way. And when you do this, I absolutely, fully, hands on heart, I believe that if you're able to leverage this, it makes absolutely everything, and I mean everything, easier for you. So if you said to me, okay, I'm looking to move to a different country, if you've built your brand, you're able to transcend, those four walls, and it doesn't matter about borders of countries. Even if you, and I'll give you another great example, if you're able to build your brand, and you've got an interview and there's 6 other candidates, okay, and they've heard of you. So when your CV, your resume goes on the table and they look at it and go, God, I'm sure I've heard of her or him, then you have got an actually strategic advantage against those 5 other people, okay? So that is the key thing that I'm trying to say to you. That is where the benefits of building your brand are key. So hopefully that has helped you. And I am going to be taking questions, in a second. So if you are interested in building your brand, by all means, just drop me a line, or, you can actually message me from LinkedIn. It's Susan Burke, Burke. But as I've mentioned before, I'm actually going to be offering this package this month, okay? It's Be the One interview package. And what I am doing, which I will really like, is I've realized that, most people are average at interviews. They say they're good, but when we do the mock interview, we can make it a lot better. So I'm literally working with you on a one-to-one basis to literally get you hired each and every time, okay? And the way that this is going to work is, again, it's that one-to-one prep with me. We're going to be looking at, the one killer question in some senses that you can do to actually change the interview around, okay? So you're taking ownership of that. I will help you to understand the success stories that you need to be driving through an interview. That's critical, okay? I'm going to be showing you how you can use what I call the interview success kit, because believe it or not, when you go to interview, and this is another thing that you need to be recognizing, okay, is that when you do go to interview, what tends to happen is they will not make that decision on that day. Okay, think about it. Most companies will not make that decision on that day. So what I'm saying to you is that you need to understand this and recognize that, okay, I need to be remembered maybe 3 weeks later, maybe a month later. How do you do that? So one great way is by using the interview success kit. So in some senses, it's kind of like a PR stunt, but it's a great way to show the value that you can offer. Okay, so I actually provide you with the interview success kit as well. And also how you can actually excel during that second interview. And then once you land the job, because when you do this, I promise you, you will land the job. Okay, when you do this, what tends to happen as well, because it's human nature, there's still a question mark about you. So when I talk about a question mark, I'm trying to say to you, even when you get hired, they're still unsure, have they actually chose the right person? So what I'm able to do is help you to basically squash those concerns that they may actually have, okay? The other bonuses that I'm actually putting in this as well is because I actually did ask this in the LinkedIn group that I run as well. And people have been mentioning, or through emails, they talked about, okay, I'd love to know, how do I actually negotiate a higher level salary? So I actually show you how to do that as part of that package. And there will also be a recording of that interview as well. So why is that good? Well, it's showing you fully how you come across the interview, so you can see, okay, I get this. These are the things that I need to kind of look at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you if you've got any questions, that you might want to type those questions in the chat box for me, and I am more than happy to answer any questions that you've got. So firstly, is there any questions? Has this been useful to you? Hopefully so. So if anybody's got any questions that they would like to ask, just type away. Otherwise, we can maybe cut it here. Okay, so I know, for example, there's Larry, there's different people, there's Janet, there's different people in the group. So if you want to post any of those, any questions that you might have, and if there's not, okay, there doesn't look like there's any questions. Okay, well, I'm hoping that's going to be useful for you. And oh, there is. Okay. On the B for One package, how long does it take to complete the task? Okay, that's a good question. You actually, once you sign up for that, you will get a tiny bit of homework. So I ask you to read a document. Don't worry, it's not War and Peace. So it's basically, you know, it's called Be Top Dog at Interview. So you read that document. We would have an actual mock interview. It's an intensive session. So what that means is that you and I will be speaking to each other for just over an hour, and that's the length of the session. What I do as well is I will prep you to what I'm looking for before we actually do the mock interview. So I'll say to you, okay, this is what I'm looking for. So it's really informal. You can make as many mistakes as you want in this. We do that mock interview, and as I said, it probably takes an hour to do that. What I've also done as well, though, is I've included the interview success kit. So I actually give you a template in terms of how you can structure the questions that you would actually showcase that interview. So if you wanted to do that, I'm happy to look over what you've put down and give you some feedback in terms of how you can make that better. So, you know, that's something that you might want to do. I would say that you should. So, you know, it's an hour, just over an hour of our time together. You get prep before that. I would say it might take you maybe 30 minutes to read the documentation, but it is an intensive session. But literally, we're going through this step by step in some way. So hopefully I've answered your question. Okay, there's a lot more questions coming on. Okay, let's see. Very interesting. No questions, but very interesting. If these formats work, can you make the recordings available? Yeah, catch up next week. Yeah, okay, not a problem, Neil. I will. Okay. Okay. What are your ideas and the difference in the job culture between different countries, and how can one deal with that? Okay, I think that you just need to kind of recognize. It's a great question, by the way, but I think you just need to kind of recognize that you get hired for one reason only. So the reason is, and this even works even if you work in a voluntary capacity. So the reason why you get hired is because the company has a problem. Because if they didn't have a problem, they downsize. So this is why I really kind of believe this is universal. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. You know, as long as you're pitching yourself to the problems that they've got, and we hone it with what you're able to offer. So that's in some senses how I don't think it really matters. That's why I do find that it's universal. It could be that you think I believe that things are changing as well. Okay, so social media means that you can get yourself out there a lot more. But you know, all I would say is I suppose it depends what you're willing to do in some senses. So, you know, some people are quite extrovert. You know, they're happy to do things like this. You know, my other half would absolutely hate something like that I'm doing now. So we just need to look at the medium that you're comfortable with. And, you know, social media makes that possible. So I don't really think it truly matters. All you're doing is trying to solve the problem that the company has by matching that with your USP. And your USP is what makes you good at what you do. Okay, and that's where I help. So I'm hoping that's answered your question as well. Okay, I will make the recording available, and thank you so much. Okay, yeah, okay, thank you. Right, I'm going to make the recordings available. I am going to be trying it, well, I will be doing this each week, so I'm hoping, obviously, it'll be on a different topic, so I look forward to seeing you again. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, super appreciated. Thank you. Appreciate it. Speak soon. Okay. Not a problem. Thank you, Peter. Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Take care.